That's right.
That's right. All right. Welcome back to Just Boxing Live. I am your host, Sean Fitzgerald. We are here at Sweet Science Boxing Gym in Hawthorne, California. With me today, my goodness, I'm already flubbing lines. Look at that during the opening.
Let's do that over.
I know. It's too late. It's live. It's live, man. It's gone out on the air.
Oh, man.
With me today, to my left, Stacks, I'm getting feedback from you, bro. I can hear myself in your phone. No, with me today. Yeah. No, I'm good. To my left, host of Against the Ropes, Gio Garcia. What's happening, man?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me once again.
Thanks for coming back. I think you're promoted, right? Didn't I promote you to series regular last time?
Yeah, something like that. I'm like the emergency contact. Hey.
With all the inclement weather that we're having here,
yeah.
You see Stacks wasn't able to join us, but Gio jumps right in last minute all the time.
Yes,
I appreciate you.
Gotcha.
And I see you got all the new merchandise, man.
Oh, yeah. It's
all sitting out here. You got the hats, the shirts, and everything?
Coming soon.
Coming soon?
Yes, sir.
All right. Man, I need to follow your lead. Sound is good. Thank you. Anthony Stacks Saldana online says, yo, hey, we also have him on the phone. Lead writer for Supreme Boxing, Anthony Stacks Saldana. What's up, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing all right, but I'm probably not as tired as you. I saw you were up at 3 a.m. whipping up some vittles to prepare for the fights yesterday.
Oh, yeah, man. I was up at 3 a.m. making pozole. So it was all good, bro.
Did it turn out good at least?
It turned out bomb, man. You need to drive up the hill one of these days.
Today would not have been a good day to drive up the hill is what I hear.
No, there was a little accident. I guess it was multiple fatalities out there.
Oh,
so,
man.
Just sending my prayers out to all the families. I guess there were some kids involved that were hurt pretty badly. So they shut down the 15 completely. So, yeah, I couldn't get down the hill. I mean, I could have if I went through, Lancaster and Santa Clarita, but...
But you're not that committed to the show?
Drive.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I am, but I'm not that committed to driving.
No, I understand you, bro. I understand you.
No.
Oh, man. So we had this weekend, starting with Thursday, but we also had a lot of fights on Saturday. I think we had something like 7 world title fights and a couple interim title fights between Top Rank, Golden Boy, of course, DAZN and Matchroom Boxing. Even PBC had some fighters on in there. So there's a lot to cover, but most importantly, I suppose, is a couple heavyweight title fights, or actually one heavyweight title fight, I should say. Stacks, I know that you've been taking copious notes throughout the weekend on all of the boxing events that transpired. Should we start with Andy Ruiz?
Yeah, let's go for it, man. Let's start with the big fight. We had the rematch out there in Saudi Arabia, of course. They had the winds, they had the rain, and they had 2 heavyweights that went to battle. You had Anthony Joshua, the former unified champ, going up against Andy Ruiz. Going into the fight, I couldn't pick a winner. Even that morning, I kept playing it back in my head, and there could have been so many different outcomes that I couldn't pick a winner. To me, it was a 50-50 fight going in. And then even with Andy tipping the scales at 283, it was still a 50-50 fight. He had his pants on, he had a shirt on, he had a sombrero, his shoes on. So I don't know, man, but it looked like that weight caught up to him. What do you guys think?
Well, let me first say Aaron Tohill chimed in. Thank you, Aaron, for the heart. I appreciate it. You guys make sure to like and share like Aaron. And Aaron said, Stacks, where are you at? Stacks got stuck in traffic because of the rain, so he's not here today. But to your point, Stacks, about the weigh-in, I kind of have to do my mea culpa here and fall on my sword a little bit, because one of the things that I have kind of been repeating over and over in the shows leading up to this is how seriously all of these fighters have been taking it and how good of shape that they came in. And it goes all the way back to Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder. And I said, hey, look at the shape Luis Ortiz is in compared to last time. He's taking it very seriously. And I said the same thing about Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. It was evident in Anthony Joshua that he went through, he cut the weight, and he made some changes in his camp. And I thought the same thing, and I repeated it on this show and other shows over and over. I said, look at him, he's in shape. I thought he was going to come in less than he did last time. I thought that for a couple reasons. One is because he weighed in less than that in the first Anthony Joshua fight. And if you remember, he was coming off of another fight in Carson, and he had weighed even less. Yeah. You remember? I was thinking we were going to see him kind of return to that shape, that condition. There was also the fact that he said that his camp was interested in shedding about 8 to 10 pounds, and I believed him when he said that. There was also a photograph of him after sparring Michael Hunter where he was sitting on the ring apron where he appeared to look in decent shape, at least in the gut and top heavy. And everyone knows, even when he weighed in overweight, Stacks said, hey, he came in 15 pounds heavier, and I still was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I still said, hey, the clothes are on. He had made the comments that he had eaten. He had done all these different things. That muscle weighs more than fat. I think that you'll see he's more top heavy and is carrying less in the gut. And I still gave him the benefit of the doubt. And at the end of the day, I suppose based on the feedback that he is given, I was very wrong. I was wrong. He didn't come into shape. He said he partied. He said that he didn't. He actually said in the post fight that he trained himself. He said, I mostly trained myself for this fight, and I didn't take it seriously. And so I guess shame on me. I believed in it. You know, I kind of bought into the Andy Ruiz. I also didn't pick a winner. I also thought it was a 50-50 fight. But I will say that I was at least very wrong about the condition that he came into that fight with. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Gio?
Yeah, same here. However, I was going with Joshua all the way since before, just because I think I saw that difference in concentration. Joshua was locked in 100%. You know, you saw Andy on Jimmy Kimmel, on Joe Rogan, over here, over there. It looked like there was a disconnection between him and his team. You know, his father was saying certain things. His trainer was saying certain things. Andy was saying certain things. And it just seemed like there was a disconnect somewhere along the way. And it turned out to be true, right? You saw the declarations after the fight. The father was upset. You know, I didn't hear anything from Manny, really. I don't know if you did.
No, not really.
Yeah, but the father was clearly upset.
I feel like, to me, and I don't know, I can get your take on this, Stacks, but I understand that the 15 pounds makes a big difference. You even said last week that even 10 pounds at that size, you can feel the difference, and you haven't gone through some transformation, Stacks. I know you experienced some of that, but at the end of the day, I think he was just outperformed. Anthony Joshua said of the first fight, hey, I could have stayed on my jab and coasted through that whole fight. That was kind of the comment that he made, and that's effectively what he did last night. He just stayed extremely disciplined in terms of following the game plan. It was all jabs and right hands, dancing around the ring, the things that his coach asked him to do the first time that he kind of wasn't doing in the corner. And there was a lot of opportunities for him to engage where it looked like he may have had Andy Ruiz hurt, and he chose not to, which is the right thing for him. So let me ask you this. Did the 15 pounds really make that big of a difference? If we saw 268-pound Andy Ruiz, Stacks, do you think that would have gone very differently than it went?
You know, I don't think we're giving Joshua enough credit.
Yeah.
I don't think so, man. I think Andy could have been 215 and would have still been outboxed, because with that reach and the way he was on his bike most of the night, you know, he stuck with his game plan. He came in, he had a plan. He stayed disciplined. He didn't engage. He stuck with it. But he also, to me, it kind of looked like he was fighting more to survive than he was to win. Yeah, I know he wanted to win, but it looks like it wasn't the fight that he wanted, but it's the fight that he had to have to beat Andy.
Exactly. That's my sense as well, is that, like, I think even if he weighed in, at this kind of 268-pound mark or slightly underneath, he had said he wanted to lose 8 to 10 pounds. Let's say he came in at 260. He still would have been chasing Anthony Joshua all over the ring.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that he still would have had a difficult time finding him. I think it was really more the game plan and how much Anthony Joshua executed that plan.
Yep. And
I think we're trying to find ways to kind of take credit from Anthony Joshua, which, if you remember the first fight, they said everything. They said he was knocked out in sparring. They said he had a panic attack in the dressing room. They came up with every...
He didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, he didn't take it seriously. He overlooked his opponent. He overtrained. He, all these different things. They made up every kind of excuse to discredit Anthony Joshua.
USA curse.
All kinds of stuff. Remember, there was rumblings of that stuff earlier this week. It was like people were already preparing for that. They were saying, "Oh, he was hurt in sparring again." You know, they were already building up the excuses.
The thing is, Sean, is that, like, it wasn't Joshua making these excuses. It was the media. It was other people. You know, and the thing is I'm even guilty of some of that, because besides just the excuses of him getting beat, there was the other stuff going around, like, Like me, for instance, I wasn't 100% sure that he should take that fight. I didn't know if he was there mentally. You know, there was that going on. There was people saying, oh, he needed to drop his camp. He needed to get rid of McCracken. He needed a new trainer. Just a whole bunch of other things going on that he proved wrong this fight. You know, he kept his trainer. I mean, he looked mentally prepared for it. Whether he was or not, I don't know, but he stuck to his game plan and he won the fight. You know, but there was just a lot of stuff that he proved the naysayers wrong, because there was still a lot of people.
So,
Andy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and let me add to that,
thinking that he'd pull it off.
Because I saw a lot of comments online. People were very upset, right, with the style that he fought. But I don't see many people upset at Andy's style. Like, what was his style coming into the fight? There were no adjustments, right?
Yeah, and I guess you could say as
Takes two to tango.
As someone who came in as the victor, perhaps he had to make less adjustments. But you're right. There was no adaptability. There was kind of a single game plan. And when that wasn't working, it kind of just played out that way for the rest of the fight. And this is the same kind of comment that you hear a lot of people make about Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's their opponent's plan. It's their opponent's game plan. They're responsible for coming up with a way to connect with that fighter or to get in the positions that they need to be in. And they weren't able to do that last night. And it doesn't mean that they couldn't do it again. But let me ask you that. So is your opinion then, has this been Andy Ruiz 15 minutes? Is his 15 minutes up, or will we see kind of a resurgence of Andy Ruiz? He commented, for instance, on rededicating himself and coming in better shape next time. If he had been in better shape, we kind of touched on it. It sounds like we all feel like we don't know that it would have made a difference if he was a little bit lighter this time around. But is that it?
Here's the thing with Andy, man. He's always going to be a dangerous fighter. He's always going to be a dangerous puncher. Now it's up to him and his team and his people around him to keep him level-headed. I mean, because the fights are still there for him. There's big fights to be made still for Andy Ruiz. I mean, he could still fight Wilder. They're both PBC fighters. He could fight the winner of, he could fight Fury. He could fight any of the top heavyweights right now and still have a few good paydays left in him. But he's got to dedicate himself. You know, I mean, the last big Mexican heavyweight that we had like this that had that potential was Chris Arreola, and he ruined his career. He had all the chances in the world to be a heavyweight champion, but because of his lack of discipline, the same way Andy showed going into this fight, it may be the same thing if Andy's not careful. You know, I mean, he needs to get a solid team around him and people that are going to actually try to ground this man. Of course, he's going to have to want to do it himself, but, you know, it's kind of like Leonard Ellerby was saying, like I was telling you, off the air earlier. When Floyd fought, it didn't matter if it was a fight for $25,000 or a fight for $25 million. Floyd always prepared the same way. He always prepared. He
was always in shape.
He always stayed in the gym.
Yeah.
Always ready to go. You know, so, you know, if you want to be a fighter, you got to have that. You got to have that type of discipline. You know, you have to take each fight like it's your last fight and go out there and do it. And he didn't prepare. And that doesn't mean he would have won if he would have been prepared. I mean, but who's to say, you know? Well, I can tell you what the naysayers are saying is because he lost is that they're attributing that to him not being in the right shape. He's attributing it himself to not being in shape or not being ready to go. You know, he's saying that himself. So we don't know because he wasn't in that shape. He wasn't ready to go, you know?
And definitely, I don't think anyone doubts that there are big fights potentially on the horizon for Andy Ruiz, like a Deontay Wilder fight. That might make a lot of sense. Even a Luis Ortiz fight or some of these other fighters, right? But I guess the question more isn't like, hey, are there a couple more $1 million fights for Andy Ruiz in the works? It's more, has he peaked? Have we reached the pinnacle of Andy Ruiz? And from this point forward, what we can expect to see is kind of him being the, for lack of a better term, the B-side opponent for some other heavyweights who are competing at the championship level.
As far as B-side, I don't know, but as far as him peaking, I think we may have seen it. You know, especially when this check clears.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't know. I think we've seen the best of Andy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You think
I don't
so?
think it gets bigger than beating Anthony Joshua, knocking out Anthony Joshua at MSG, right? The biggest star in the heavyweight division. I don't think it gets bigger than that for Andy.
But what about regaining a title? I mean, like, for example, Anthony Joshua lost. And everybody said, not everybody, but there are a number of people who said, that's it, he's done. He's washed up.
Strongly disagreed with that all the way.
And I'm not saying that you did, but you could see comments all across Facebook, people saying he should retire. He'll never be Andy Ruiz. Yeah, like so. I mean, it's easy, I think, for us to sit here and say, "Hey, he looked bad in that performance. He came in out of shape. He's done." And we could have said the same thing about Tyson Fury, right? When we look at Tyson Fury and said, "Wow, I mean, the guy's 320 pounds. He's an addict, and he's done."
He was supposed to be.
He was supposed to be, right? Yeah. So, like, these narratives have a way of working themselves out. I think if you can dedicate yourself. Like, that's what we saw with Tyson Fury. He rededicated himself to the craft. And we saw the same thing with Anthony Joshua, right? He went in, he rededicated himself.
Here's the thing with Andy. This isn't his first trainer, and I'm sure it's not going to be his last, depending on what type of beef, continues on between him and Manny Robles. And even prior trainers and prior people have said in the past, Andy's never had that discipline. Like you guys said earlier, he was in shape because he was coming off of that fight at the StubHub Center. So he was already in some type of shape. He wasn't in the best shape, but he was, already in some type of fighting shape.
That's probably the best shape he's ever been for those two fights. Yeah. Probably the best shape he's ever been in.
Possibly.
I think in terms of marketability, I don't think he's done. You can obviously make good fights from now on, but in terms of peaking in his sports career, I mean, he created one of the greatest memories in boxing history. I don't think
it was terrific.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do it.
It truly was. I mean, meaning that moment for years from now will still be remembered as this amazing moment in the sport,
and as far as, like, the styles go and Joshua's style, and the way he fought, the same people that are bitching about Joshua running and being on his bike the whole time, and it's a lot of Mexicans, and I'm going to put it out there.
Yep.
It's a lot of the Mexican fans that are the ones complaining are the same fans that were saying, "Oh, Canelo did so great, and he fought so great and so defensive when he fought Jacobs, when he fought the same damn way." Just saying.
Yep.
How about this?
The same ones that want to say Joshua was riding that bike are the same ones that were praising Canelo. So
there's always that bias. It all depends on who you were rooting for. Most people were rooting for Ruiz, so now they feel disappointed, and now they feel like they got to talk shit or whatever. But it was a very good fight by Joshua. I don't think people are talking enough about that.
It was a very good fight. I agree. And I think
he put the punches together when he needed to. He did good.
He showed maturity, in my opinion.
I think the important thing is how disciplined he stayed. And I think there are a few moments in the fight that you can look at where, particularly, like, let's say the last 15 seconds of the fight where Andy Ruiz is standing at the center, and it's so easy at that point to say, hey, there's only 15 seconds left in the fight. Let's give the fans something. Let's go in there and exchange and give them something. And you see that a lot in fights where people are cautious or tentative. But even in those final moments, he refused to engage because that was not part of the game plan. That's how disciplined of a fight he was fighting. And earlier, I think in round 10 or 11, he had landed a shot that really seemed to stagger Ruiz. He stepped in. Ruiz landed a counter, and he immediately retreated. He stepped back out and went back to doing what it is that he was doing.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're Anthony Joshua, for your legacy and for everything that you have planned in the future, that this fight was like a win now and look good later kind of fight. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you need to do to win now, that's what you need to do. Right?
And that's all that's going to be remembered. People aren't going to remember that only 10 or 7 punches were landed per round, and that it was an ugly fight, and that he ran. They're just going to remember he got his titles back.
Man,
he unified. He got beat. He got stopped, and he came back mentally prepared, and he won his belt back. That's what people are going to remember. Of course, people like us that know the game, but as far as the casuals go, 10, like you said, 10, 15 years down the line, they're going to remember that he won. The same thing with Canelo. They're not gonna say, Kovalov was on his way out. They're gonna remember that he went up to light heavyweight and won a title in the 4th division. So.
Yeah, let me give a shout out real quick to Charles the Professor Wilton. Charles says Tyson was never down and out, though. Mike Tyson was done due to psychological stuff. The mindset is a huge part for all fighters, and I completely agree. So I'm not on the Stacks, I'm getting feedback from you, man. Am I on speaker? Take me off speaker.
I thought we were talking about Tyson Fury. That was my
we were talking about Tyson Fury. He's referring to Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But there's a point here that I kind of want to make, which is that when we say this person's out, like that's what people were saying about Anthony Joshua. He's out of it. He should retire. The same thing about Tyson Fury earlier when he was addicted and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
it really boils down to, can they refocus themselves? And I can't really comment on whether he can or can't. I think it takes something, right? And this was one of the big questions for Anthony Joshua coming into it was, could he refocus himself? Was he mentally going to be prepared? Was he going to be there? And a lot of people had their opinions, but at the end of the day, he was mentally prepared. He was there. He was ready for what was at stake.
Yeah.
I can't say that that's the case for Andy Ruiz or not. And I don't think we'll know until we see him in another large marketable fight, which we recognize that there are other ones, but let's take that as an example. There are other elite heavyweights that Andy Ruiz could potentially fight. How do you suspect he would do against those heavyweights? So namely, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
I don't think he beats either of them.
Okay. Just because of skill set, because of dedication, mindset?
I think the skill set isn't in question. I think it's more, he can outbox Deontay Wilder. Possibly, right? But Deontay Wilder's, 6'7"?
6'8", I think. He's a little bit taller, yeah.
And he has that one punch that could take anybody out. That's why I don't see that happening. I think Tyson is too smart. I think Tyson would be able to do a better job than Joshua did last night against Andy Ruiz.
The funny thing is he used a Tyson Fury-esque style to actually beat Andy Ruiz last night. He was kind of doing his version of Tyson Fury.
Yeah, but his head movement is still a little limited. Tyson Fury is just out of this world with that head movement at 6'9" to be able to move the way he does.
I actually think, to your point, Tyson Fury handles himself a little bit better on the inside than Anthony Joshua does, meaning when Anthony Joshua last night had clearly been practicing clinches, right?
Yeah.
So he went, whenever Andy Ruiz got on the inside, he would clinch with him. Tyson Fury has a little bit, quite a bit more defensively sound on the inside. You could see his inside game is a little bit better.
Yep. And that was the one adjustment that I did like from Andy Ruiz. When the clinches came, he eventually just started fighting them off. And that's when he was able to land the best punches in the fight for himself.
Would you guys want to watch it again? Do you want to see number 3?
No, I'm not interested in the third fight.
I am.
Is it Stacks? Let's start with you. Is that because you feel as though it would just go the same way?
Yeah, I think the blueprint's there, and it's going to be the same boring type. Well, I shouldn't say. Yeah, I am going to say boring. It was a little lackluster. It'd be a lackluster, boring fight again. It'd be the same. It'd be the same thing. Joshua wouldn't change anything up. So there's really, and even in in shape. I think we all agree that even an in-shape Andy couldn't do it, So.
Last night, I think with that game plan, it would not have worked, yeah.
I agree the quote-unquote boringness of the fight, that it was a little boring. However, I attribute that to Andy, though, because he never, like we said, adjusted. But I would like to see a third fight because I still saw a little bit of fear from Anthony Joshua when Andy let off his combinations. And when he got touched, that was the big question, right? Is he going to be able to handle it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he still has the stuff to stop Anthony Joshua if he can find him and connect.
Yeah.
Right? I think even last night when you see him fighting off some of those clinches, you realize, his hand speed is there. The power is there. It's really more that he couldn't adjust to finding Anthony Joshua in that fight. He wasn't really cutting off the ring so much as he was just following him around for the entire fight.
Yep. And Joshua got knocked out in the first fight. As a competitor, I would want to fight him again and probably make it a bigger statement of a win if I'm Anthony Joshua.
Well, he kind of said 100%, right? Anthony Joshua said 100%.
That's what they all say.
That's true. That is what they all say. They all say they want to fight each other.
Of course.
I think the fighters do, don't you?
I think they do.
I think the fighters actually want to fight each other. It's more the promotional entities and other things like that kind of...
Yeah, but when they ask you on the spot, of course you have to say yes. You're not going to think about it,
Well, some of the narrative that people spin is that these fighters are afraid of each other, which is kind of like nonsense. Come on, they're not
I feel like
Deontay Wilder is not afraid of Anthony Joshua.
No, but the price has to be right. That's the thing.
Sure.
The negotiations have to be right. I think they all want to fight each other, but if the price isn't right, then things change.
Yeah. Okay. Given the stylistic approach that he took last night, how do you think he would fare now in a fight against Deontay Wilder? Anthony Joshua, of course, I'm referring to.
I've always said he would beat Deontay Wilder. The only question is, can he avoid that right hand, right, like Tyson Fury did for the majority of that fight.
I was going to say, Tyson Fury didn't avoid the right hand.
For the majority of that fight.
he caught it twice, man.
But I'm just not sold on Deontay other than that punch. I mean, that's how you win all his fights, basically.
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. He's 41-0, 42-0, or what is he? 40 KOs. It works.
When you say you're not sold on him, so what would...
I just don't like that style.
What would he have to do to sell you, I guess?
Nothing. I mean, he can't box, so...
What does that mean? What does that mean he can't box, bro?
I like pure boxers. That's why. A lot of people like that power puncher. I like boxers, so I'm probably never going to be sold on his style. But I'm not mad at it. Like you said, it works. So
yeah,
it's just me being a hater.
That's okay. And at least you acknowledge that, because I read a lot of comments like that. You see a lot of people say Deontay Wilder can't box, and I kind of wonder, where is your threshold for can and can't box? Because you're talking about an individual who competed at the highest level as an amateur and won a bronze medal, which he did in a ridiculous amount of time. Like, he did it within 2 years of even stepping in a boxing ring.
Same with Joshua, right?
Joshua did too. Yeah, Joshua did too. So he competed at the highest level as an amateur. He competes at the highest level as a professional. He's defended his title 10 times. Consecutive knockouts, basically, with the exception of Tyson Fury.
Which he lost. He lost that fight.
Which, yeah, you could argue that he lost.
No, it's a fact, Sean. He lost the fight.
But I guess my point is like, at a certain point, and the analogy I used the other day, you play basketball. I've seen you got a jump shot, right? That's what you do. You shoot threes.
Yes.
If my jump shot looks funny, but I make 30 points a game,
at
the end of the day, it does not matter that my jump shot looks funny.
That's
you can
true.
criticize my shooting form all you want, but it is effective. And I feel the same way about Deontay Wilder. So for everybody saying he can't box, you can criticize his form all you want, but at the end of the day, there's an object to the sport, and he does it. And he does it every single time. So as critical as you want to be, the fact that saying he can't box, it's kind of like the epitome of, like, he does exactly what you're supposed to do to everybody.
Sure.
That's the object of the sport.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, like,
he
does it better than anyone else, actually.
I will give him credit for his chin, though.
Okay.
He's shown that he can take a punch. Same with Andy Ruiz. Some of the shots he took last night, not many people would have taken them.
I will say that Andy Ruiz took some proper shots, man.
I saw his ear touch his shoulder one time.
Like, he was... No, it's not just that. Although I will say that, like, again, another example of Anthony Joshua just being especially disciplined, that cut, right? He cut Andy Ruiz right away with one of the first right hands that he threw, but he didn't pursue it, right? It was just kind of, he was content to just continue to do what he was doing. He didn't pursue the cut any further. So just another example that I wanted to illustrate of him really being on point last night.
I want to hear how Stax thinks that Andy Ruiz would fare against the other heavyweights, let's say Deontay, Tyson, or even Usyk.
Stax, what do you think?
I think Usyk's outboxed him. Fury outboxes him. Wilder, I think he has a better chance. Out of all the heavyweights, honestly, I think he's got a good chance to beat somebody like Deontay Wilder.
I agree with that.
Just because if he can get in there and he can catch him, he's basically a younger version of Luis Ortiz. I think maybe Ortiz has a little bit more boxing skills because of that Cuban style, but
southpaw.
I think that Andy wouldn't be intimidated. He'd go in there and try to knock Wilder's ass out. He's there to get caught. I don't think he can box as good as Joshua can.
But I have a question, a follow-up question on that. The very first thing that happened in that fight was Andy Ruiz caught a clean right hand that cut his eye open.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We all established that the number one thing the number one weapon in Deontay Wilder's arsenal is a right hand. If Andy Ruiz can get hit with the right hand that quickly at that point in the fight, what makes you think that he can go 12 rounds with Deontay Wilder without getting hit with the right hand?
Well, I'm not saying he's not going to get hit, but he's got a good chin, and they asked how he would go up. I'm not saying he would win, but the chance is there.
He would do the best chance, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He asked how I thought they would fare against the other fighters, Usyk, Fury, Wilder. And I think Wilder, he's got the best chance to beat Wilder out of the other guys because the other guys will sit there and box him.
Yeah.
I don't think Wilder will have it. Wilder's going to want to go to toe-to-toe. He's going to want to get in there and try to hit him and knock him out. And he's going to leave himself open to get caught as well. So I think he fares better against Wilder than the other heavyweights.
So if I were to restate that, would it be fair to say that what you think is he would win rounds against Deontay Wilder? Whereas he may not win as many rounds against Tyson Fury or some of the other top heavyweights like Usyk, who are more pure boxers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Luis Ortiz won 6 rounds against Deontay Wilder, right? So I think in that respect, I agree. I think for sure he has the boxing ability to win rounds, and we obviously know he's got the goods to actually stop him, right? I mean, I think each one of these guys, with the exception of Tyson Fury, has a pretty adequate amount of power for stopping other fighters.
Your lights out real quick, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now look, I caught a lot of shit because I said even after Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua, I still ranked him as a number 4 heavyweight in the world, right? But
yeah.
Where does he rank now that he lost to Joshua?
That's a good question. Where does he? Where would I rank Andy Ruiz?
Yeah, where would you rank Andy Ruiz right now?
He's probably still there, like 5 or 6. Like when you look at it, because if you look at the people who, there's kind of a big drop off, in my opinion. You have your Tyson Furies, Deontay Wilders, and then there's a lot of guys like your Joseph Parkers, Dillian Whites, and people like that.
Usyk still hasn't really proven himself.
Usyk has not proven himself at heavyweight. Yeah. So I think that when you look at the other people and you look at Andy Ruiz, we've seen a younger Andy Ruiz versus Joseph Parker in a really competitive fight, a fight that many people, including Andy Ruiz, feels like he won. We've seen, guys like Dillian White, Derek Chisora. These are all guys who I could see Andy Ruiz competing with realistically.
You know what? Well, if he's going to stay with TGB and with the PBC promotions, which is Andy, I'd like to see him fight that youngster coming up, that F.A. Ajagba. I think that'd be a good fight for Ruiz.
Okay.
You want to see him get down with the young cats, huh?
Oh yeah, let him get with the Ajagba. Let him get in there with somebody like Joe Joyce.
I think if they're making that fight, it's because they think Ajagba will win.
Ajagba versus Ruiz?
Yeah, I think if you're going to make that fight, it's because you're trying to take F.A. Ajagba to the next level. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point of putting him in against someone like Andy Ruiz?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you gotta put him up there sometime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You said, there's a big drop off in heavyweight. You got like Joshua Fury, Povetkin, Ortiz.
Yeah, like I think even the fight of the night to me was Povetkin and Michael Hunter.
Yeah, that was a great fight.
So Michael Hunter came in as a favorite against a 40-year-old Povetkin, former world champion. Michael Hunter, extremely talented in his own right. As a cruiserweight, he's only lost to Usyk.
Usyk, yeah.
Right? So he comes in. It's a fight that, again, this is one of those situations like I was just referring to with F.A. Ajagba. When you put Michael Hunter in that fight, the idea is that this is his step-up fight. This is the fight that he can win, where we're going to see him kind of go up to the next level of heavyweight and kind of break that top 10 position. But Povetkin wasn't ready to surrender. Povetkin didn't get the memo, and he came and he fought extremely hard. I thought the draw was warranted. Very close fight. But I easily think that was the fight of the evening. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it was a good fight. I mean, it was back and forth, heavy action. I thought it was going to finish in the first round when Povetkin got hurt, and he survived. He survived. He took it to the kid. I mean, he almost stopped Hunter in the 5th, but they rocked each other and they went back and forth. So yeah, I'm actually glad it was a draw.
Yeah, same here. I think in the 8th round, I was like, I hope it's a draw. Kind of as crazy as that sounds, because unless one of them knocks the other one out, I mean, there isn't much difference between the two. They were both catching each other. They were both taking the punches somewhat well, right? Well enough to survive.
Yeah, there was a lot of close rounds. I mean, they were both hitting each other hard. They were both, there was a lot of action between both fighters. So, exactly. I mean, I don't think it wasn't a real clear-cut winner in that fight. So, I mean, yeah, a draw is warranted.
Was it fight of the night to you guys? Was there a better fight yesterday evening?
I wouldn't consider the Diego Pacheco fight, really. Right?
Diego Pacheco, of course, was inserted. He was inserted. We had been led to believe that we were getting Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. They very cleverly put in a young Diego Pacheco, who I think that's a great opportunity for him on a fight card like that to get that level of visibility, which is probably what Matchroom is thinking. And ultimately, he landed a stunning knockout blow. So Diego Pacheco was certainly, you could call that the knockout of the night.
Yep.
But I would say that the Michael Hunter fight was a better overall fight. Michael Hunter and Povetkin.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of heavyweights on that card, actually. That was like a predominantly heavyweight card.
Most of them were Joshua's victims.
Top 10 guys, yeah. Top 10 Joshua victims.
Exactly. Who else was on that card?
I like the mask by
Michael Hunter?
Yeah.
The Predator? The Predator mask?
The Predator mask? Man,
Bounty Hunter?
That whole walking.
What's that?
I didn't understand what the hell they were saying. That 10-minute speech. I didn't know what that walking was all about. I just didn't get it.
Oh, man. Plus, it was pouring down rain.
Right?
Make everybody sit out there in the rain for one of the biggest events of the...
Some people don't even want to drive in the rain.
I know. Stax didn't even want to come down in the rain. Imagine if he had to go... It's a good thing you didn't go to the fight last night, Stax.
Exactly, man. I would have been pissed. I would have probably got lost like Joshua did. I heard like the police escort got lost going to that stadium.
You know what's funny? My wife, she asked me, she saw Canelo enter the arena, and she goes, "How did he get there?"
Money.
How did he get the visa? She was like, "How did
money,
he?"
Man. Money talks, man. Bullshit runs a marathon. You got that money. They don't care if you're from Mexico or not. That's Canelo. Yeah, you're welcome, Canelo. You could come into our country. Shit.
Don't get started, Stax. Don't get started, man.
Canelo looked like white boy Rick, man, with the earring in and everything. He looked like he was about to go sell 2 grams at Circle K, man.
Whoa, man. Let's dial it back. Let's dial it back, bro.
You know what I did
You're
notice?
getting carried away here.
There wasn't many women there. That's why it was interesting to see Canelo walk in with his girl or
with his girl
partner.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, they all we were surprised to see that there were some ring girls and things like that. There's also
there?
Yeah. I mean, there were the girls wearing the full-length dresses. Not ring girls. That's not like they weren't walking around with the card.
Yeah,
I just mean the girls in the full-length dresses that were like
part of the show
opening.
somehow.
And no alcohol, of course, in the stadium, which I'm sure impacts the environment in some way.
I did notice who was it that cursed during the interview? Damn, I don't remember. And they apologized immediately.
Oh, that's yeah. So someone in their post-fight interview threw out an F-bomb.
Yep. I forget.
Andy Ruiz did, didn't he?
Not sure. I don't remember.
I don't know. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think we're probably going to see a lot more boxing matches there. To be honest, given the tax breaks and some of the other things, I know that you're not looking forward to it, Stax, but this is probably the beginning.
Yeah, no, I'm not real. I'll keep my thoughts to myself on Saudi.
Shout out to Gail. Thanks for joining us, Gail. I know she has some thoughts on Saudi, too. It rained on their parade, though, so. Rained on their parade. But still a good night of action. There was actually a number of other title fights that took place last night as well. So we had fights on ESPN. We had fights on Showtime. So on ESPN, we had Navarrete. Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about the ESPN ones. Yeah.
And Jerwin Ancajas.
In Puebla, right?
In Puebla,
Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah. I started it with the Miguel Mariaga fight. That fight was a good fight between him and Alfredo Mejia. Both of those guys went at it. It was a 6-round stoppage on the left hook from Mariaga to Mejia. That dude was... I had never seen anybody... Well, actually, I take that back. When De La Hoya got hit by Hopkins, he was on the ground that way. But, man, that kid was, like, in so much pain. It wasn't even funny. He got hit with a shot to the body. It's like they had to bring the doctors in and everything. That dude was just, like, stuck. He was in so much pain from that body shot.
It reminded me of the Arnold Barboza a week back.
Oh, yeah,
that body shot. Yeah, it looked painful. It looked painful.
No, it was something else. And then Ancajas, he looked good. I guess he had, what was that, his 8th defense now of that title?
Yeah, Jerwin Ancajas, who I believe trains at Combinations, right here in Lawndale.
Yeah.
Yeah, right down the street from where we are here at Sweet Science, Jerwin Ancajas. I've actually seen him sparring in here before.
Nice.
His 8th defense of the Superfly, the IBF Superfly title. He's managed by Manny Pacquiao. So, I mean, for him, to me, that fight, he looked really good, and he looked a little bit more aggressive than he has in the past. Ancajas is more of a defensive counter-puncher style fighter. I know he had a draw recently, and he hasn't really looked too good, but last night he looked pretty good. I mean, he closed the distance. He sat down on his punches. He was connecting to the head, to the body. I mean, so he fought really good, and then just in the sixth round, he went to town in the sixth round, and they ended up calling the fight.
And of course, that card was headlined by the model of aggression in Navarrete. So as aggressive as Ancajas was, of course, we have Emanuel Navarrete, who, in terms of aggression, is pretty much top tier, I would say.
Fourth defense of his title this year.
I know, he's extremely active. Extremely active. I feel like, for someone who, my perspective is I feel like he kind of came out of nowhere. So, meaning he was set up as an opponent for Isaac Dogbe, beat him twice very convincingly, and since then has just been on an absolute tear. That's been actually a joy to watch, a pleasure to watch. He's one of my favorite fighters, even though he has a peculiar style in terms of how aggressive and the way he throws punches, but I would never, go back to the Deontay Wilder conversation. It's effective.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think of Navarrete, Stacks?
Man, he just swarms. His attacks are swarming. And I mean, it's just like, and they come from every damn angle. His fights, when he sits in there and he fights, it's not like he's a textbook fighter. He's not like a technical fighter that, he's going to put together like a 1-2-1 and he's going to come this way, that way. I mean, they just come from every angle. It kind of reminds me of like those things when you're a kid that you connect to the water hose and like the arms go everywhere, kind of his style.
You're talking about like the car sales lot balloons or what?
Oh my!
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
One of those things.
The
guy who just sits there and does this thing with his arms. That's my best impersonation for those of you watching the. If you don't know what I'm doing, then I got nothing else for you.
That's pretty good.
The car sales balloon guy. You guys got it right.
Exactly. Nah, but with some power behind those shots, man. I mean.
Oh my God. There's like a 30-second delay on the Facebook, so I was able to just look down and see what I look like as I was doing the car sales balloon impression.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! What am I doing?
I'm making that.
How many viewers did we lose or gain right there?
That's gonna make our page, just so you know.
This one right here. There you guys go. Oh, Gail, thank you. Gail gave me the quote with the F-bomb from Andy Ruiz. I thought it was Andy Ruiz who did that.
Okay.
He said, "But I don't want to give no excuses. He boxed me around, but if we do a third, believe me, I'm going to get in the best blank shape of my life."
Yeah.
And then Gail shout out again because she said, "Oh my God, the car lot balloon, that's genius." It was a spot on impression, if I say so myself.
There you go.
I know what my Halloween costume needs to be for next year. Shout out to Big Serge Estrada. Thanks for joining us, Big Serge.
I actually used that image or that mini clip when we're describing a knockout. But so we got to be careful with the person that we use that for.
What the car sales balloon one? Oh man,
yeah. It's a good.
I guarantee you that's going to make somebody's Facebook page later today.
Big Surge,
Cutman.
So he was in Andy's camp for a while, and I guess there was a few people in Andy's camp that kind of got kicked off the car, but.
Why you say that with a really suspicious tone?
No, because
he was in there, if you know what I'm saying. Like there's a wink at the end of that.
To Steve Kim's Twitter post that Andy was sitting there lowballing a bunch of people and trying to pay pennies on the dollar, and didn't take a cut man with them to Saudi Arabia. So when your head trainer has to focus on your cut in the first round and has to wipe up blood and has to wipe the water down because you ain't got a cut man in your corner.
In all fairness, I would say that the cut really didn't play much into the fight last night. So he did sustain a cut, and it wasn't a great cut. It was above the eye, but ultimately, because of Anthony Joshua's dedication to his game plan, which was to kind of stay on the outside and work, the cut really was not much of a factor. Meaning they cleaned it up after the first round, and it didn't bleed a lot after that. But I do understand what you're saying in terms of, we've talked about this when Serge was here multiple times, which is, the point of having a dedicated cut man is to say, let the trainer focus on training and let the cut man focus on the work that needs to be done there. So I definitely, point well taken.
So, real quick, a question from Gail. She's saying, hey guys, what's the average fee for a cut man, Big Surge quality? Someone asked me today and I really didn't know. Okay, so it's usually 2%, right? So on a fight like that, say Andy cleared 10 million, it's 2%. You're looking at about 200,000. And of course, I'm sure somebody like that's in his camp, somebody that's been around would do it for a lot cheaper. I'm sure they do it probably for plane ticket, a room, and maybe 20 or 30,000. I'm sure they wouldn't even ask for 2% of Andy's cut, but usually it's 2%. And I'm sure that's negotiable.
One thing I will say is I am sure it depends on how much the fighter is making, and it's not unusual for fighters to go to flat fees for their training and for other services. I think once they start making beyond. This was actually the big debate between Triple G and Abel Sanchez. Do you remember? Triple G wanted to go from a percentage cut to a flat fee that Abel Sanchez was not satisfied with, and that was reportedly one of the things that caused the separation between the two. And a lot of what we heard around that time is that's not unusual once you get at a certain level in terms of making money to coordinate or organize that kind of fee.
That's
200 G's for one fight. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's what I'm saying. That's why you go to a flat fee. Yeah. But when you're still offering pennies on the dollar, from what different media outlets are reporting, I'm not gonna get into it because it's not my place to put other people's business out there. But
you've already done that, man.
I can't attest to. No, I'm talking
kicking
about
people out of his camp. You were talking about their payment, all kinds of stuff. You put everybody on blast already.
I heard one name.
No, I'm telling you, this is what other media outlets are reporting. Yeah, I can tell you exactly what went down, and I'm not, that ain't my place, and that ain't my place to say names. I can't tell you that Serge was in his camp, and he didn't go with them. So,
something
when Steve Kim reports.
This takes me back to actually something else that I thought was really cryptic is when they were in the post-fight interview with Anthony Joshua, and they asked him about the first fight. And do you remember he told Chris Mannix, I'll tell you when we're off the air, I'll tell you what was going on. And sometime down the line when I decide to write a book on my experience, I'll explain what was actually going on with me, but no excuses. But doesn't that imply that there are some excuses behind that? We just don't know what they are and that he'll reveal them at a later time? I thought that was a really cryptic way of saying it. You can't say no excuses and then at the same time say, well, I have excuses. I just plan on saving those for my memoir, later in life.
No, but
I didn't mind that because at least he's not making them now. He's like, all right, let's
that's
focus
true.
on this other stuff. You'll know when you know.
That's some forward thinking right there. You have to buy the book,
10 years.
In 10 years from
he's
now,
already selling it.
10 years
Smart
from now,
man.
you have to buy the book if you want to know what actually happened to Anthony Josh. This is when we'll find out the truth about if he was knocked out in sparring or if he had an anxiety attack in the room, whatever other nonsense was made up.
Yeah.
For all I know, your guys are going to find out some of that's true when you buy the book. So
coming soon.
Shout out to Benny. Benny says, will Andy Ruiz ever recover from this? We talked about this a little bit, and I think in terms of mental recovery, it's just too hard to comment on. I know you guys felt as though he's kind of reached the pinnacle or the peak. We've seen fighters rededicate themselves in the past, which, Tyson Fury was able to do it. Anthony Joshua was able to do it. It's almost a character question. And I can't say that I know enough to actually be able to comment on Andy Ruiz's character or his commitment to staying in shape, which he said he would do. But I understand it's also easier said than done.
Yeah.
He honestly, when he was talking about that in the post press conference, he still looked like he didn't give a shit. Hey, I'm sorry to my coach. I'm sorry. Ha ha. Like it was still a joke, I mean, some people, you can tell by the look in their eyes that they're really flat out sorry. I messed up. I'm sorry. For him, it was just kind of whatever. Oh well.
I don't know, bro. I'm sure he feels terrible. Don't you think he just lost the Unified World Heavyweight Championship, on one of the grandest stages in the sport?
I always got the sense that he felt like it was too good to be true the first time.
Yeah,
he did. I always got the "I'm happy to be here" kind of.
That's
vibe.
why this fight.
I'm happy to be here.
He's like, you know what? You guys counted me out, so why are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm getting 10 million, and they really didn't belong to me anyways, and oh, well, I just kind of bought him. We'll fight again, and I'll make more money. Ha ha. Yeah.
And that's why when people say, "Oh, this guy lost, he's done."
Tell us what you really think, Stacks.
That's when people say that type of stuff, like Anthony Joshua the first time. Oh, he's done, he's out. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's gonna make how many millions in the second fight? He's not losing anything.
Yeah.
Even if you lose, you're still going to get a huge check.
Gail says, I'm sure people think, damn, that fee sounds like a lot, but think back to Fury fight versus Otto Whalen. The cut man saved Fury, and isn't that work worth $100K? In fact, didn't he get a bonus? Tyson Fury gave him a bonus even on top of all that for the job that he did. I do think that a lot of physicians might have stopped that fight regardless, but they did do an excellent job with the cut.
I agree with that. However, if there is no cut, he's getting 200 Gs to just sit there.
Yeah, but it's better to be prepared, right?
That's true.
Yeah, the guy that stopped his cut, Capatillo, him and Sergio actually worked together Thursday night. So it's funny because we were just talking about Fury's cut and about Capatillo just he couldn't do much. He said he was just packing it with globs of epinephrine and
yeah, absolutely, and Vaseline. Yeah, man. Look at
he's
that's...
like, what do you do? He says, I couldn't do nothing. Pack it with Vaseline and pray to God that the ephedrine stopped it.
Shout out to James Del Campo. James says, good cut men are priceless. If you can't get swelling down or under control, it's over. Yeah, I believe it. And Gail says, it's called insurance, man. I agree. It's insurance. It's an insurance policy, bro.
It's true.
100%.
Hey, just get you a sponsor to pay for your cut, man. Shit, be like, hey, Snickers, will you sponsor, give me $200,000 for my cut, man? And he'll eat a candy bar when he's walking into the ring. I mean,
there you go.
That's simple.
Okay, I gotta read Serge's comment because Serge got back to us here, and Serge said he said it once and he'll say it again, and I can attest to this because he actually did say it on this show when he was our guest last time. He said, I'm always open to negotiations. I understand that every fighter is different, and purses are all different, and in the end, the value of a cut man should not be overlooked and minimized. We can make a difference in a fight, and I think that's kind of what Gail's point is, the type of difference a cut man can make when they're in serious trouble. And also something that you had said previously, Serge, which is at least it allows the coach to focus on coaching, right? It allows the coach to focus on something other than a serious cut. So I can't say that I disagree with any of that. On a related note, how about the Vaseline corner cam?
Vaseline corner cam.
Man, they went to the Vaseline corner cam every break. It was a little bit too much. I don't know how much Vaseline paid them for that gig. But I feel like I don't know. They were getting repped every few minutes. Every few minutes of the Vaseline corner cam.
You know what else was new was the MGM, the lines like per round,
the
betting lines. These are the current odds, the live round odds. I've never seen that before, man. Where they're just like in between the rounds saying, okay, here's the odds now if you want to make a live bet.
Yeah, the live betting odds. Yeah. I thought that was interesting because you could see throughout the fight. Like I think they announced that by the time the 6th round was done, it was like a 25-1 underdog for Andy Ruiz Jr. at that point. That's how much the betting odds had changed. And the same thing, Michael Hunter started out as the favorite, and after just a few rounds, Povetkin became the favorite in that fight. So I actually thought that was interesting. Yeah. That was like an interesting little element to add to it, the live betting odds. I don't bet on boxing personally, but I did think that it did make it a little bit more interesting. Sergio says, exactly, everyone pays insurance in one way or another, so why not when you're making millions of dollars? I don't disagree, brother.
Yeah, I'm still not giving you 200 Gs if you're in my corner. I don't care what you say.
You know what? But I would, and that's why, I'd have a better chance.
Don't get hit. You don't get cut.
Should me and Gio fight for charity? We could do it.
Let's go.
You want to do it? You want to do a charity boxing thing?
Let's go.
Against the ropes versus...
I'm down.
Are we look like we're about the same weight. We can't be that different, right?
Yeah, we're about the same size.
Yeah, we're not drastically different sizes.
Aren't you used to like having to spar guys much heavier?
No, I wouldn't say I'm used to. I normally spar people around my size, actually. Yeah. What I'm not used to is sparring guys who are a lot taller than me. I will tell you that gives me all kinds of problems. No, I'm not even joking. Dudes who are a lot taller than me, I never learned how to fight tall guys. I didn't. I never did. I would like to say that, like, oh, yeah, no, I never learned how to fight tall guys. Just get jabbed in my face the whole fight long.
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, exactly. It looks a lot like that. That's me versus well, you're not that much taller than me, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's a fair fight.
You guys let me know.
Pick your corner, man.
I'll do a charity event.
You can't fight.
I'll do a charity.
Fight Gio, man.
I can't fight you.
You can't fight.
Why not?
Because then he's gonna beat you up, and then I'm gonna get mad, and then we're gonna have like bad blood for no reason just because he beat you up, Sean. No, you can't.
No way. I wouldn't be mad that he beat me up as long as it was for some charitable cause.
No, I would be mad. Not you. Be like, why you beat up my boy for, man?
You can
You can always throw in the towel.
yeah, give me some illegal stuff in the corner, some of that Panama Lewis. Should I say that? I don't know. I didn't mean to put Panama Lewis on blast. I'm sorry.
Get it ready, Sergio. Not that water bottle, the other one.
Yeah, the other water bottle. Give him the other water bottle.
Hey, right? I eat tacos in TJ, bro. Come on.
You know exactly what. See, Stacks knew exactly what I was talking about. That Panama Lewis water. You know what I?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Man. And then we have the PBC fights, right?
That's right. On Showtime, of course, Charlo defended the 160-pound title belt, which he is the legitimate 160-pound belt holder at this point. As
supposedly.
You know what? I'm gonna have to unmute this here so that I can do it because Canelo is the franchise champion. There you go.
Whose voice is that?
Whose voice is that? That's Giandra LaBeouf. Shout out to Giandra for being a soundbite on our show, franchise champion.
I like it.
You like it? Yeah. Oh man. So
hey, that card though, it kicked off with a good fight between Lulu Houghton and
yeah.
Lobo, who's actually the girlfriend of Chimpas Gonzalez. It was a rematch. Those girls went at it, man. That was an all-action fight right there.
Houghton was downed in the fight, but actually came out the victor. So it was a very interesting fight.
95-94 on all three judges.
95-94 after being down. So she retained the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. And then, of course, I do want to talk about the main event. Jump straight to the main event.
Charlo and Hogan.
Charlo and Hogan. Dennis Hogan, who last we saw him televised, was against Jaime Munguia for a 154-pound title in a very competitive fight, a fight which many people, including Hogan, thought that he won.
In Mexico.
Yeah, in Mexico. So he's moving up to 160. I say moving up. He had fought at that weight class before. In fact, he's gone as high as 175. I think he started his career out higher, but he hasn't fought there in many years, I think over 4 or 5 years. So this is the first time in a long period of time he's fought at 160 pounds, was downed multiple times, and ultimately stopped by Charlo, who retained the 160-pound title. Yeah. So I guess the question is, what's next for Charlo at 160 pounds?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Wow, I heard that like 3 times, but I only have 2 people on the show. That was weird.
That was creepy. I'm not a big fan of the Charlos, the Kittens only, but I was impressed by this. I was impressed by this win, though. I was impressed by this knockout, though.
You were impressed by this knockout?
Yeah.
Why is that? Because Dennis Hogan, or?
Yeah, everybody was saying he can last.
Resilient.
Yeah, resilient. And you saw that against Munguia, right? But like you said, he went down multiple times in this fight. And I think Charlo, he showed a lot of the stuff that he's shown before, but his last fight wasn't the best. A lot of people thought it was very close, right? But in this fight, they're definitely, no doubt, very good win.
I think there's different ways to look at it. You could look at it, or you could also kind of spin it. To your point, you could pick apart any fighter's career, right? Mm-hmm. It depends on who you're rooting for, who you like, and who you dislike. If you dislike Charlo, you're probably going to look at that fight and go, man, he's fighting a guy who just lost to Jaime Munguia at 154 pounds. Now he's fighting at 160. He should stop this guy. He's the world champion. So you could definitely be critical about it as well. But I do think that Hogan did show against Munguia, who probably was 170-something pounds on the night, that he could be resilient. And, in fact, you can make a case that he won that fight. I had thought that he won that fight against Munguia. So I don't know. I could go either way. I could understand people who are critical about him as an opponent selection, particularly if you're at a point where you're like, hey, I'm wanting to see Charlo now fight the top competition at 160 because he's a 160-pound title holder, but you could probably make a case that he hasn't really fought any of the top 160-pound fighters.
He hasn't fought anybody.
Exactly, right? And so this is kind of another way of looking at it and saying, wow, slider?
Echo.
Yeah, echo. But so I guess it could go either way. I don't know. What's your position, Stacks, on Charlo at 160 pounds? Is it time to see him step up here?
Yeah, but who's he gonna fight?
Yeah,
really, there's no competition for him. that PBC has. I mean, there's only honestly a handful of names that are still relevant at 160 right now, and I don't even know if Canelo is. So who do you got? Golovkin, Andrade, Jacobs,
Derevchenko, who's there?
Jacobs, Derevchenko, but that's about it. Moriata. I mean, besides that, there's nobody at 60. You know, I mean,
Munguia's moving up now.
Yeah,
but yeah, all those fights look difficult to make, though. That's the thing.
They're all Golden Boy DAZN type fighters, you know. So Golovkin's with DAZN, Andrade's with DAZN, Canelo DAZN, Jacobs Munguia DAZN. So it's like, I don't know.
If you're Charlo, for instance, do you think at some point it makes sense for you to evaluate other options? To look at it and say, hey, you know what, for one fight or two fights, maybe I'll go independent just so that I can get some of these big names as they're going to be the biggest paydays?
Exactly. They should trade. They should be like tell PBC, like, if you, like, let what's-his-name come over here and fight Triple G, Charlo fight Triple G, then we'll let Crawford fight Spence or something. I don't know, shit.
Another move, too.
They need a barter. They need a barter.
Another move, too, that most people aren't willing to do is move up.
Yeah, go to 168.
Caleb Plant.
Yeah, some of those cats.
Benavidez.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do that, though.
Because PBC does have a lot of names in that.
68.
In that
at 68.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of names at 68. A couple things here. Gail says, do you think you guys can make some of that KSI and Logan Paul dough? Dude, if I could make 1% of that KSI and Logan Paul dough for a charitable cause, I'm down. Oh, man. Who would buy a ticket? Gail, you'd be first in line. Great scrap. Those girls got down, of course, referring to Louisa Houghton. James Del Campo says, that's serious dough. I agree. That is some serious. I would love to have that KSI money. I'm all over it. I've got only 30,000 subscribers, though, so I think I've got a lot. What does that guy have? They put it up.
Idea. You know, I had no idea.
Oh, they showed it.
Yeah, like 12 million or something
when they
like
did
that?
the tail of the tape.
Yeah,
they showed their Instagram and YouTube following and stuff. I don't remember what it is, but I guarantee you it's a lot more than my 30.
I think there's like 3.5 million each.
3.5 million?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do the multiples of that.
How many zeros is that?
How many zeros do you need to add to get to my... Oh, man.
I had no idea who those guys were before this fight.
I still don't know who they are. I mean, I understand...
It was a good fight. It was a good fight.
It was controversial. It's very controversial.
It was.
But I will say that I still don't know exactly who they are, other than the fact that they're social media personalities.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what popularized them. I'm not with it, as they say. Do the kids still say that?
That's exactly what they say.
I don't know. It's got to be Derevchenko for Charlo because Triple G is going to fight Murata, according to Gail. Thanks, Gail, for chiming in. Michael Shepard is watching. Shout out to Michael Shepard. Ringside seat, front row, guys, for Gail. Absolutely. You got to cover it. You get the press pass, and you can write an article on it. Although I don't think we can fill Staples.
Cynthia can be your photographer.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to bring Stacks Pozole or something to entice the...
Yeah, we got to get people there. The Pozole will get them there.
I'll sell Pozole instead of hot dogs.
Exactly. Dude, it's Big Surge. Shout out to Big Surge. He said for a charity event put on by you guys, I'd donate my pay towards it. Hey, that's not a bad idea. You know what? This is starting to take some traction.
200 G's?
No, because I wouldn't be making millions. This is starting to get some traction. We may have to work this out here. There's a gym there's a ring right behind me. We could do it in here. We were actually at a fundraiser in here a few weeks ago. It works out. We just take the bags down and we're good. Oh man. So I think that's it. That covers all the fights that happened this weekend. There's a tremendous amount of fights this weekend. We got, of course, a couple fights coming up still remaining in December. We've got the Richard Comey fight for his title belt. So Teofimo Lopez trying to pull that one off. What else do we got? What am I missing?
The other Kittens only member.
The other Charlo. Those are Kittens.
Yeah, the Charlo brother.
Kittens fights at
against Harrison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought Harrison did win that first fight. I thought it was very close. I'm still rooting for Harrison, though, in this rematch. However,
you don't see it?
I don't know, man. I think Charlo's going to be a little better prepared. It seemed like he had no plan B last fight.
Yeah, I think, and that's fine. It's okay. Like I've said on the show multiple times, there's a difference between who I want to win and who I think will win. And I can understand saying, hey, it was a close, competitive fight last time, but Charlo's going to find a way to distance himself. This time, I think that's probably going to be, even though Harrison's coming in with the belt, I imagine that's going to be the consensus, and the odds will reflect that going into the fight. If it were on DAZN, I would know the live odds as they were going, which would be kind of cool. Gail says
we should have like a bookmaker too, like
the bookmaker
doing live odds in between, selling like little tickets of bets.
Oh yeah,
bets.
How about for our charity fight?
We'll go to our live bookie. It's like
we'll bring a live bookie.
You know how they send things over to like Steve Smoger or something like that. Instead, we'll just go to the bookie. Can you explain the odds to us? We'll send it over to our in-house bookkeeper, and then he'll talk about the odds on the fight.
Yeah,
this is a really good idea.
I think we can do this.
Gail filled in a blank for me there. Virgil Ortiz Jr. on Friday versus Brad Sullivan at Fantasy Springs. Have you ever been to Fantasy Springs?
I have not. Have you?
I like it there. I've been there a bunch of times.
I've heard.
I actually like it there. I think it's a good venue for boxing. It's kind of it's intimate, but it's also it's a good enough size crowd that you can actually feel it get electric and stuff when things are really popping off. I like Fantasy Springs. Do you like Fantasy Springs, Stax?
Yeah, I do, man. I like it. It's a good venue. It gets loud in there, so it's cool. It's a good venue.
James Del Campo says, I saw Charlo last night. Lord, give us Canelo Charlo. I don't care who wins. Just give us the bout. I just don't see it. I don't see it. For one thing, I think it's too much of a drop now for Canelo. He's going to have to stop off at 168 first. So Charlo, at the very least, would have to fight someone in between. And I also don't know that the dollars are there to make it work. There's enough people on the DAZN between Golden Boy and Matchroom Boxing that are would probably make the same amount of money. So there's no reason for them to cross the aisle for that fight. Unfortunately, politics is just going to play too much of a role in it unless Charlo decides he wants to go independent just for a couple fights.
Or if he wants to get knocked out, then he'll take it.
I sense that you don't think too highly of the Charlo brothers. No?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
They got to show me the resume first.
Show me the
resume. Me the Carfax.
That's what you say about Crawford, too, though.
Yeah, show me the resume.
Crawford's dope, man.
He's all right.
He's all right.
I almost walked off last time when you called him the best welterweight. This was maybe...
That's not exactly what I said. What I said was, if I called Crawford the best welterweight, you would say, and I let you fill in the blank.
The first time we were here...
Oh, the first time we were here.
You said he was the best welterweight.
I suspect that he is.
Probably one or two fights. Jeff Horn.
I still suspect that he is.
Suspect is a better word.
No, yeah, and that's true, because at the end of the day, you do have to prove it, right? You have to put your money where your mouth is.
We just talked about Usyk, right? He hasn't proved it in the heavyweight division.
You have to put your money where your mouth is, and in this case, I don't think Usyk is the best heavyweight in the world. I do suspect that Terrence Crawford is the best welterweight. Only the challenge is he's not going to get a lot of opportunities to showcase that he is. But there's not. I don't look at, for instance, the other top welterweights right now, like Sean Porter, and say I think Sean Porter would win.
I think he beats Crawford.
See, I don't.
I think he beat Errol Spence.
I don't think he beat Errol Spence either. I actually think that it's just a really tall order. I mean, everything was in Errol's favor. Errol scored.
They're not gonna allow him to lose that fight.
Well, they don't. It's not a matter of allowing him.
Yes, it is. He lost that fight.
Bro, look. At the end of the day, he landed more punches. He was more effective. In terms of numbers. Yeah, slightly more effective. He landed slightly more punches. He scored the only knockdown in a very competitive fight. Like, everything was in his favor. You look at it at the end of the fight, and you go, yeah, of course he won. Everything was in his favor.
In your eyes.
No, I'm speaking statistically.
But I mean,
what do you mean in my eyes? He scored the only knockdown of the fight. That's not in my eyes. That's a fact.
But when you come to punches landed and punches thrown, it's somebody pressing a button.
I agree. Your argument could be that they got it wrong. I'm just saying that that's what the statistics show.
I'm not saying they could get it wrong, but I'm saying it's not a fact, which it's the same thing, but I wouldn't use that as a fact when arguing this. Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. You could say that the Paulie Malignaggi argument, that's some guy with a Nintendo controller who's pushing a button, he gets it wrong. But the point is when you look at the punch statistics that are there, he was more efficient. They're the only ones that are there. I didn't actually go and do it myself. I just looked at the ones that were there. He was more efficient with his punches. He landed more punches. I would argue that he landed the more effective punches. He scored the only knockdown in the whole fight in what was a very close fight. Like, there's not, the judge who thought Sean Porter won 8 rounds is out of his mind. Like, that guy's crazy. What was that guy watching? Like, how do you think he's crazy? How did Sean Porter win 8 rounds in that fight?
Well, all the rounds are very close. That's the thing. It's only the 1 round difference between a 7-5 and 8-4. It's not that much of a difference.
Yeah, but you could look at the fight and it's clearly not an 8-4. It's not an 8-4 for either guy, right? I mean, just look at forget about punch statistics. You just look at it and go, oh yeah, that's not an 8-4 fight.
Sure.
I can see we're not gonna get anywhere on this one. However, yes, I do think that I would favor Sean Porter, or excuse me, I would favor Terrence Crawford if he were to fight, say, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. You know, I would favor him over those guys.
I mean, that would make sense, but to me, styles make fights.
Yeah.
Who do you think Danny Garcia is going to fight?
Well, they announced his fight date last night. They said he's fighting January 20-something, but they don't have an opponent yet, so it's not going to be anyone meaningful. It's not like, meaning I don't expect we're going to find out it's Manny Pacquiao. He's fighting 1 month from now, essentially, and he doesn't know who his opponent is at this point, so it's just going to be filler, right? It's going to be filler for Danny Garcia. And that's not meant as disrespect to whoever his opponent is. It's more my way of saying that it's not going to be any marquee welterweight that's going to step in there right now.
It'll probably be Josecito Lopez. Shit.
You think so? See, I think at this point we should know that. If it's going to be Josecito Lopez, we should know that already.
When is the fight date?
It's what did they say it was, Stacks? Like January 20-something. It's like a month from now. Right? If it's Josecito, we should know that already. Like, the guy needs a little bit more respect than that, than like a 1 month.
Definitely.
But
you would think, but I mean, if they're just giving Garcia 1 month right now, I mean, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But he already had the date, right? Or around that time, because it was supposed to be Spence.
Well, originally it was he said Spence and Manny are the two that they've been eyeing. It was going to be Spence, but with Spence recovering from the accident, it's not going to be Spence. And I just think, given the timeline, that's not enough time to promote a big fight. It's not like they're going to put Keith Thurman in there and promote a pay-per-view in that month. So it's just going to be a regular, Fox fight. And I think Josecito Lopez would be someone who, I mean, I just feel like we would know that already.
Yeah.
That would be leaked. That would be leaked.
I could even see him maybe fighting Lipinets at 47.
Okay.
So.
I could see that. Like Lipinets, I think that's a different fight. That could happen.
Yeah.
I like Lipinets.
But that's it, man. So we got a couple fights remaining in December. We're going to have to do some kind of award show. I'm going to have to hand out prizes for knockouts of the year and stuff like that. You ready, Stacks? You got your fighter of the year all in the bag already?
Yeah, I think I got my fighter of the year in the bag, man.
You got it all in the bag? What about you, Gio?
I haven't thought about it, actually.
You haven't thought about it?
I barely realized it was December.
Yeah, man. You gotta, you have to start going through the historical records of 2019 to figure out what were all the great knockouts.
Yeah.
The great fights. Give it some thought. And I think that's all I got for this evening. But I know that Gio, you for sure are gonna have to give some shout outs.
Yeah.
What do you got?
You know what?
Throw them out there.
I'm gonna read some comments from Instagram because a lot of people were mad at this fight, and some people made a little more sense, in my opinion.
Okay, go ahead. What are the comments on Instagram? Which fighter are you referring to?
Andy Ruiz. Joshua.
Yeah. Go for it.
Martinez boxing team said, "I believe you win as a team and you lose as a team. It's a team effort. The adjustments should have been done during the fight," which I agree with. No adjustments, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
Chicana Boxing said, "Joshua did what he had to against Ruiz. He still loses to Wilder, though." That's interesting. The Sweet Science Examiner, he said he respects Andy for being honest
about the training.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, obviously, a lot of people were critical about the weight thing, and he's commenting on the weight thing. I think the thing that's interesting about that is the fact that when they asked him point blank about the weight, it wasn't like, hey, I'm out of shape. It was more like, I had eaten 2 meals. I drank a lot of water. I was wearing my hat. I was wearing my clothes. And for sure, 100%, those things contribute. Those things contribute to it, but I think the question is more the 15 pounds.
Yeah. We also had a few more. Mi Gente 502, shout out to France. It was fun while it lasted.
Stacks, am I on speaker, bro?
Yeah, you getting feedback or what?
Yeah, of course I am. Take me off speaker. I've been hearing everything twice over here. I sound like we're in Top Gun.
Better?
I was waiting for Viper to tell me that he's taking the lead.
All right, and we got one more. Mike Munguia 00. Sad and disrespectful to the coach, team, and the sport. The fact that he came in so heavy and didn't train.
Well, I think the other thing is in terms of like, hey, I had a lot of water. I had 2 meals. I had all these things, and that contributed to my weight.
Which one is it? Pick one.
Well, it could be
It
that
could be
stuff.
both.
It could be both. But at the same time, I also don't understand in the sense that, like, as a heavyweight, it's not like he's shedding tremendous amounts of water weight and needing to starve himself. You know what I mean? In order to get there. Like, I understand why somebody who's 160 pounds can hydrate up 20 pounds. I'm not really there for Andy Ruiz, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get why he would need to do that. Yeah. So I think that, he was honest about it in the post-fight interview.
Yeah.
Pre-fight or, after the weigh-in and things like that, clothes weigh more. I get it. But I still think that there's something to be desired.
Yeah.
And believe me, I was the one who said he was going to come in shape. I said it 150 times on this show. Even after you could ask Stax. Stax texted me yesterday or the day before, and I was still saying that he was going to be in shape. As soon as he takes his shirt off, you're going to see. You remember that, Stax?
Yeah.
I told him as soon as he takes his shirt off, you'll see he's going to be top heavy. He's got more muscle up here. He'll be thinner in the stomach. All that stuff. I said all that nonsense. I was defending him till the last minute.
Until he actually pulled off his shirt.
Until he actually pulled off.
Yeah, it was bad.
Until he got in the ring.
I almost couldn't see the name like on the front side of his trunks because of his belly. But anyway, just some last words. Give Anthony Joshua a lot of credit for this style, even though a lot of people don't like it. It was smart boxing. Give credit to Andy for his chin. And, this is boxing. Just boxing,
This
right?
is boxing. It's just boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And where can we follow you guys?
You can follow us at Against DA Ropes on all your favorite social network platforms. Against the Ropes podcast on YouTube. We've had some interesting guests. I want to shout them out too. Right Hook Roxy, who's going to be fighting, right? Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, correct.
For the Olympic trials. So good luck. Yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to, I think he was one of your past guests too, Adan Ochoa.
He is,
who won this past Thursday.
Yes, he did.
Shout out to Adan. Shout out to Arnold Barboza Jr. as well. He scored a knockout. We're supposed to have him on soon. So, check us out.
Awesome. Stax, what do you got?
You could follow me at SupremeBoxingInc.com. That's our website. And then on all Supreme Boxing social media platforms, IG, Twitter, Facebook. Follow Just Boxing, of course, on Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube now as well, IG, and also the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. Be sure to follow the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. We have our new interactive museum inside of the Maryland Parkway Mall in Vegas, so you can stop by and check out the museum. There's a full-size boxing ring in there. There's punching bags. There's a lot of different types of memorabilia in there, robes, trunks, shoes, not just autographed gloves. There's a whole lot of different interactive things that you can do once you get in there. You can put on the gloves and fight in the ring.
We should fight at the They have a full-size boxing ring in there. That's where me and Gio should do the charity thing.
Yeah, we'll set it up in Vegas at the Hall of Fame.
In Vegas, we'll go fight in Vegas at the Boxing Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Let's get it. Before we go, I do want to shout out this show, Just Boxing Live. Every time I come, I see great improvements. You got the rebranding, Just Boxing, very cool. You got the water.
You can try the water.
Luis. I'm gonna try this.
Do it. It's your right, actually, as every guest.
I got to see what's in it first.
Every guest gets to consume or indulge in one of these. So, in that, I'll transition into that. Combat Sports Collective is a full-scale fighter support system providing fighter resources like strength and conditioning, photography, apparel, and soon-to-be supplements and recovery. That's Combat Sports Collective, logo of champions. Follow Combat Sports Collective on Instagram, and of course, follow me at Just Boxing Live on Facebook, at Just Boxing Live on Instagram, and Just Boxing, the YouTube channel. We've always been on YouTube, but the YouTube channel is also called Just Boxing now. So if you want to find us, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube to Just Boxing. And that's all I've got for you today. Gail, shout out to you, says thanks. She's hitting the road to help Santa for the holidays.
Happy
Sounds
holidays,
like happy
everybody.
holidays.
Yeah.
Have a good time, Gail. Thanks a lot. That's all I got for you today. Be back with you next week. Peace.
Peace.